Welcome to the StockMentor.com studios here in the Black Hills of South Dakota. I am your stock mentor, Brian Johnson. I'm making professional trading simple. Uh, Pretty much what we talked about. I said little down, little up, looking at the chart, little down, little up, and then a break to the upside. Look like that is clearly coming. I did mention yesterday, too, that I was not convinced that this upwards movement was over quite yet. Sure enough, it does appear at this point that the upwards movement is not over quite yet. So we will watch it into tomorrow. Now, coming into tomorrow, this is what we will be looking for. Here you find it moving very nicely sideways right into this trend line, finding support there and pouncing upwards from there. That is to be expected. But on the daily, you can see we are basically closed, I don't know, above, on. Really kind of depends on how you want to view it. I could tweak this trend line and make it look anything. So let's just say that we were just kind of right on this particular upper channel line right here. For my students, pay attention to this. This is a good opportunity for a trade. So keep this one in mind. Good risk to reward ratio, I think, going forward here. We want to be very careful to the upside. As I've mentioned before, I'm a broken record, but I want you guys to pay attention to the fact that we are very overextended here. We still could see, and probably will, a little bit more to the upside tomorrow. I would maybe be looking for a potential Wednesday afternoon reversal. I love Wednesday afternoons for reversals. We'll see if that comes in tomorrow, and maybe that'll close down back inside of this channel by the end of tomorrow. So watch it closely to the upside. Like I said, I still think caution is to the long side here. Use extreme caution in your trading, and maybe just intraday trade the long side, and be prepared for anything. I'd be out of any long positions by the end of the day into these next few days and just kind of see how the rest of the week plays out. So we will be watching to see if we get any more closes above this upper channel line, which could lend its hand to more bullishness. But at this point, I think it's due for a pullback. We'll see. NDX on a 60-minute, same thing, moving sideways into the trend line, now moving up. Would expect to see that move up as well tomorrow. On a daily, we are closed just above this trend line here. Once again, I can probably tweak that to put it on or above or whatever, but close enough to being kind of on the trend line itself. We'll watch that tomorrow as well to see if we get a pullback there. NDX on a weekly, we are only Tuesday, but notice how we are up to this very staunch, should be very staunch resistance. We'll see how it behaves over the next day or two. SPX on a 60-minute broke this fan line here. As I mentioned, this is where it was sitting yesterday, right on this fan line. Fell down through. I said this should act as very heavy support, which it did. This was a great defensive long entry here. Now we are moving back to the upside. I fully expect to break the highs here and retest the underside of this trend line eventually. Maybe we see another pullback at that point. That would be right around the 1120-ish area. I'd be watching for that area to hold tomorrow. If you have this marked on your charts, watch for this trend line to hold here as well tomorrow. That's also a very defensible place to maybe take a little short position if we get back up and touch this trend line. And you recognize it on your charts. From an SPX daily standpoint, above the double top, that is 2 days in a row, and that is what held today as very strong support. So now things start to get a little interesting as we have broken that double topping area in the SPX and are pushing higher. For those of you that have been tracking it, I've heard over and over again, the dollar is the key, the dollar is the key, the dollar is the key. Well, guess what? The dollar was up. So were the markets. The dollar is not necessarily always the key. It's not all about the dollar. It's about a lot of other factors that go into the markets themselves. And we have seen that over the past few weeks. It hasn't always been about the dollar. Sometimes the dollar's gone down and the markets have gone down, and vice versa. Both of them are up. So it's not always about the dollar. But the dollar was up pretty nicely today, and we did not see much, if any, of a pull. Well, we didn't see any pullback at all in the markets today. That would show, or at least reflect, the move in the dollar. So watching that going forward, that is a little bit of a divergence. Whether or not that'll change is anyone's guess. That can always change, though. Those markets tend to do that. At some point, they stop diverging, and then they start moving in unison, and We'll see if that happens with the dollar. Everybody's expecting the dollar to reverse and then the markets to, of course, crash, and that could very well be the case. But we will have to wait for a few more weeks to find out if that's going to be true. SPX on a weekly, still following the underside of this trend line, which we are watching once again. It's a little bit too early. It's only Tuesday. But would not want to see, if you're a bear, you do not want to see this close up and inside this area by the end of the week. VIX on a daily, still falling, falling, falling. On a weekly, which is what I like to watch, watch for it to hold here at the dotted line. If it breaks below that, watch for good, strong support right down here at the big green line. We still have yet to test that, and would not surprise me if the markets move up to see the VIX come down and finally test this area here before bouncing higher. Apple on a 60-minute went nowhere today. I did mention above 208 would be a very safe